Hunter Biden and his attorney pull up to Capitol Hill. They were supposed to testify, be deposed today. They get out of their Secret Service vehicle and then make a statement right there in front of the Capitol and say, we are not going inside unless it's a public hearing where I can be deposed. My guess is that he would just plead the fifth then in public, but that's neither here nor there. So, and then he gets back in the car and drives away. Jim Jordan, Jim Comer, the rest of the Republicans sort of do a quick press conference and say they're aghast that he hasn't done this. From a legal standpoint, I assume that showing up outside the venue that you're supposed to be deposed and then getting in a car and leaving doesn't count.
No, and the House should hold Hunter Biden in contempt of Congress because he's obviously able to go testify. He showed up, and he doesn't get to pick the manner in which he testifies. That's Congress's job through the subpoena power, and Congress wanted a deposition of him ahead of time. And then after that's pretty routine. You issue subpoenas for staff depositions or even member depositions, and then you can have a public hearing after that if Congress chooses. But this is...
So it's funny, though, that you say this. I want you to just explain this to the audience because I talked to a couple people in the past 24 hours. We were debating whether he would show up or not. And someone said to me, why does it matter? Let him testify in public. And my point to them was what you said, but I'm not a lawyer. And it was he doesn't get to choose how this goes down, right? I mean, that's the point, is that he's basically saying, I'm Hunter Biden. I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it my way.
Yeah, I mean, Congress has the absolute constitutional power, the constitutional duty to investigate whether the sitting president of the United States is compromised by tens of millions of dollars in foreign bribes and other corruption to every Biden family member, except for the 6-year-old granddaughter who they finally claimed after 6 years. And it's not Hunter's right to say that he's only going to testify in the manner he wants. He has to follow whatever Congress wants. That's their constitutional duty to get to the bottom of whether the president's compromised. And he's playing games here with his lawyer, and Congress should move forward with a contempt resolution.
So I wanted to ask you about that. He got out of this car, the Secret Service vehicle, with his attorney, Abbe Lowell, very prominent D.C. attorney. As an attorney, would you have advised him to do this public stunt? I mean, I assume the reason was to show, hey, I'm not defying the subpoena or the deposition. I'm just not doing it in private. So therefore, he gets the media on his side. From a legal standpoint, was that a smart move or a stupid move?
I think it was a very stupid move because it showed that Hunter Biden was able to testify. He was there. There was no reason he couldn't testify. He couldn't say that, he had a health issue or a mental issue or whatever. He showed up and put on a charade. And frankly, Abbe Lowell may have broken the law himself. You can't conspire with someone. You can't aid someone in obstructing a congressional investigation. There are a lot of Trump supporters who are in prison right now for obstructing congressional proceedings. Abbe Lowell doesn't get to do this because he's an attorney.
Paul Manafort, the former president's campaign chairman, he went to jail. Steve Bannon has had a sentence of 4 months issued against him for failing to comply with a subpoena. Where does this thing go? And the thing that I think is interesting is obviously now you have a DOJ, because Congress would refer that to the Department of Justice, right? Isn't that how that works? And so then they'd have to decide whether to enforce it.
Yeah, I mean, and you're going to see that Matthew Graves, President Biden's U.S. attorney in D.C., is a highly partisan operative. He has politicized and weaponized the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office to go after Trump and Trump's supporters and Trump's top aides. You talked about Bannon and Peter Navarro, Trump's attorneys, Christians. It never ends. And while he's given amnesty to Biden's family, Biden's lawyers, Biden's aides, BLM supporters, Antifa supporters, Hamas supporters who are terrorizing Jewish Americans with hate crimes, and it never ends. I wouldn't hold your breath for the Biden Justice Department to do anything about bringing any sort of contempt charges against Hunter Biden. I think that's going to have to happen when Trump's back in office.
It's unbelievable, though. You got people who are literally sentenced to prison for defying. And I don't actually believe that the January 6th committee had real authority. I mean, that's a whole nother subject. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it was not created with the authority that most congressional committees are, meaning that the minority wasn't given the ability to have their members put on it. The majority chose the members of the minority to represent. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. The idea that Liz Cheney was the ranking member, despite the fact that the minority hadn't appointed her, which has been throughout congressional history. But that's aside. The point is, the courts found it valid. And that's what matters. And so if that kind of a committee gets upheld as having its power deemed legitimate, you would assume that the House Judiciary Committee would have to be deemed equally as important and enforceable when it comes to subpoenas, right?
Well, even more so, I think the House Judiciary and the House Oversight Committees have been in existence since like the early 1800s, at the beginning of the beginning of our country. So yeah, I mean, these are absolutely valid subpoenas, and it's absolutely within Congress's power, its duty, again, to figure out whether the sitting president of the United States is compromised by payments from China and Russia and Ukraine and Kazakhstan and every other trouble spot around the world. That Congress absolutely has to get to the bottom of this. This has nothing, but the Democrats want to make this look like this is about hookers and blow from some degenerate son of the president. That's not what this is about. This is about whether President Biden is compromised.